Hey, we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. Up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream. Up next on...
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Saturday and we're having super fun.
Woo woo!
I didn't flood this one this time.
No, you did really great, actually. And then I was like, ooh, am I on point? Because he was on point. So I'm like, did I hit the mute? Did I unhit the mute? Did I do the intro?
It worked.
It did. It
worked this time.
Perfect. So. I don't think people realize like all the buttons I have to push to make sure that we like get your intro, then get the intro, and then not talk during the intro music, and then unmute so you can say that. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I didn't understand all the intricacies of being a producer until I started sitting on this side. Mm-hmm. So I think people might be interested to see what that's like. But that's a whole different show.
Yeah.
So today's
We're
show,
still on the lookout for a producer.
Always on the lookout for a producer. But today's show is actually brought to you by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I do love some Disney. So we actually saw Deadpool and Wolverine like Thursday.
Yeah, we saw it Thursday.
We were hyped to see this movie. It's been a slim summer for movies.
Yeah, it has.
Like it used to be when we were growing up, like the summer was it. Like that was the time when
everything comes out.
Yeah, all the epic movies were coming out in the summertime. And we're almost at August. And we're just now getting this movie. And we did see previews finally during this movie of some movies upcoming that look like they're going to be fun to see. I'm curious to see what our kids think of the Borderlands movie coming out because they are fanatics.
That one looks fun.
I think it looks fun, but they're Borderland fanatics, so of course they're probably going to hate it. You know how that goes.
My only thing with it is they put what's his name on it? Who's the guy that's always with The Rock?
Oh, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. And I don't know, I'm kind of Kevin Hart out now.
Yeah, kind of.
I've seen him too much. Because he kind of plays the same character
over and over.
So, hopefully this will be something better. But we'll see what it is. But today we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. So I've been waiting for this movie for a long time.
Dude was chomping at the bit to get these tickets to go on Thursday. First it was like, oh, we're going to go Friday. And then he's like, no, just kidding, we're going to go Thursday. And then we're like looking and he's like, I can't believe these are already full already. And we're like looking some more and we're like expanding.
Because I never get tickets like way in advance. I never do.
No, and we never go like on one of the websites or something to get the tickets. So you were on it this time. Like you were like, we are seeing this movie as soon as it comes out.
And it's weird because usually there's certain times where it's just there's a bunch of spaces open at certain times on Thursdays. But it's not when it starts, which I think all of them started at like 3 p.m. But from like 3 p.m. to like 4:30, and then 4:30 to like maybe 5:15 in that area, there's open spots that you can fill in. Barely.
We had to look around at several of the theaters before we found a spot open.
Yeah.
But, I mean, once you see it, I don't even know how to explain how epic this movie is. Like, this is everything that Marvel used to be. Crasser, of course.
Right.
Because it's Deadpool, so it's got to be crass. But it's like gritty, but it's funny. There's good chemistry between all of the players in the movie. There's never a time where you're like, oh, like this is boring. I was surprised during this movie, which like never happens, because once you've seen the trailers, you've seen a lot of like the action scenes, and you've seen a lot of the interactions between Wolverine and Deadpool.
Yeah.
But there's so many other characters that you don't know are in this, and we're not going to spoil it for you and tell you, because that was part of the joy of seeing it the first time, is all these other characters that are in it, and you're just like, shut up. Like, I felt like every 5 minutes in that movie, it's like, shut up. Like, did that really happen? Was that person in the...
And even though there's some characters that you think should be in there, there's still kind of like homages to them in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, we can't say too much.
We can't say too much, because if we say anything, it's going to ruin it for you.
Ruin it all for you.
And I want you to be surprised for it, because I was like surprised by all of it. It was great.
Yeah.
CJ Anime Fan says Hugh Jackman is the best at what he does.
Oh my God.
But what he does isn't very nice.
Oh yeah. Well, Wolverine is Wolverine, but
yeah.
It's funny because Deadpool always breaks the fourth wall. So that's the thing. Like, and breaking the fourth wall means that he talks to the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he knows that there is an audience. He knows that he's in the movie. And so it's funny that you say that about Hugh Jackman. And this has been out on preview, so I'm not ruining anything for anyone. But it's funny because he tells Hugh Jackman as Wolverine that he's basically going to be doing this until he's 90 years old. Yeah. Because they're never going to let him go, especially now that Disney owns it.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of the things I like.
Until you die.
Until you die. But that's one of the things I like about this franchise is because he breaks the fourth wall, there's a lot of this ability for him to make fun of the studios like Disney, like Fox. There's chances for him to make fun of the other actors, the other characters. Like, it's those little quips that if you know stuff behind, like, the comics, if you know stuff behind the studios. Sorry, y'all can hear our dog. He's losing it.
Yeah.
If you know all those things, it makes this funnier.
Right.
Right. So that is some of what I enjoy seeing because Ryan Reynolds is funny. Like, if you've ever seen him, like, on Instagram or on interviews or anything, he's a funny guy. Like,
he's funny.
He does ridiculous stuff in his real life.
Mm-hmm.
So it very much translates when he's Deadpool and he's, like, giving us all these little quips.
And the one we like of him so much is he plays himself. Always. Except one movie.
Which one?
Buried.
Ugh. I just had to give that movie away recently.
Oh, no.
Yes, I did.
That was my favorite movie.
I can't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It traumatizes me. If you've never seen Buried with Ryan Reynolds, don't. No, I'm just kidding. It's really good.
It's a really good movie, yeah.
But I have claustrophobia, so it traumatized me. But yeah, I mean, I think Ryan Reynolds has been playing himself since Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw him, was on that show. I think one of the things that he's gotten better with every time he's done a Deadpool movie is you don't get to see Deadpool's face. Right? You get to see his face when he's Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
But you don't see his face as Deadpool. So he's really got to act those emotions. He's really got to act those feelings with his body movements and his head and the way he tilts it and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that I think he's really perfected as Deadpool is we get all this sarcasm, right? We get all of this almost John Wick-ish brutality, right? Then we get this Deadpool combination of the violence and the comedy.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about this, we get a brand new suit for him. And this suit is actually more comic book accurate than any other suit that's been made for him. So that was a cool thing to finally get to see.
It's funny that you mentioned the suit.
Yeah.
Because I've watched a few of the interviews with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and they were talking about the suits. And they were like answering questions from people. And so people were like, you know, have you guys ever gone incognito out in the world or whatever, or gone as your characters? And Hugh Jackman was like, no, like I tried to go with my kids for Halloween, so I was like Steve from Minecraft. And then Ryan was like, no, totally, like I'm super cheap or whatever. And so I had the Deadpool mask at home, so I just, from one of the films, and he's like, I wanted to go trick or treat with my kids. He's like, so I just pulled the mask on. And he's like, we met all these people, and they were like, oh my God, that's the best Deadpool mask I've ever seen. Like, it is so movie realistic. And he's like, really? I mean, I just got it at Spirit Halloween. And I thought, that's fantastic. And so then Hugh Jackman was like, you know, and people don't understand like how tight these suits are and like how much it takes for us to get in them. And he's like, and how much it takes for us to have to go pee when we have to get out of them. And he's like, pretty much when you're doing a movie like this, you pee twice during the whole during the whole shooting, because you can't get out of these suits. They're basically like sewn into them. Yeah. So it's crazy, like the level that these suits are and like what people can do, like the seamstresses and everything can do to make them look so good, and so that the actors and the stuntmen and everybody can still move around in them and do the stuff they need to. So, and speaking of the suits, one of the things for those of us that are comic readers, and if you watched the X-Men cartoon, the yellow suit is the iconic suit.
It's the iconic suit of the,
It is the iconic suit. And this is the first time we've seen Wolverine in film. We've seen him in cartoons, but this is the first time we've seen him in film in the yellow suit.
On a movie, yes.
Yes, on a movie.
On a movie. There, I think there was like an X-Men show. It didn't pan out very well.
No. So this is the first time we've seen him like on the big screen in the yellow suit.
It took 24 years to get Wolverine to wear the yellow spandex in the in a film. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he thought it was just like, well, who's gonna? He didn't realize that that was such a thing, and people so much wanted to write that. But because what they did with the X-Men films is just made black suits, and just, why are they in black suits?
Yeah, we never
we
never understood that. Well, so I've again, I've been watching some of the interviews, which I never do for movies, but I was really interested in a lot of stuff. And so Ryan did a lot of the stuff behind this movie, and he was saying that one of the reasons that they never did the yellow suits is because in the previous movies, like the lighting people, the directors, the producers, the costumers, they thought the yellow's not going to translate properly onto the screen. Like it's going to get washed out. It's not going to be good. And so that's why they changed it a lot of the times. And so he had to really push, and he's like, look, this is the suit. This is it. Like, this is what we all want to see. If we're going to do a Deadpool Wolverine movie, like, it has to be this suit. And so he was saying in this one interview that I watched, he said Hugh comes out for the first time, like, nobody's seen him in the suit.
Oh, yeah. I saw this one, yeah.
And he said Hugh comes out in this suit, and he said there is
silence.
A hush.
Yeah,
there is
nothing.
a hush over every, and he says there's 100 people out there, you know, doing stuff, extras, people, directors, producers, scripts.
Because we've seen this in the comics, we've seen it in the cartoon, we've seen it on the games, we've seen this suit. We've been wanting this suit from the beginning.
And I will say that there was one thing that...
oh, and hey, Steve. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Steve. There was one thing, and I'm sorry, I'm going to ruin this for everybody, but if you've read the comics, if you've watched the cartoon, there is... And you've seen Wolverine do this pose before, but it's not like seeing him do it in the yellow suit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? So he does this like jump pose with his feet, and he has his claws out, and he's like coming for you, right? And it's just the epic Wolverine pose. And they give us that in this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, people in the theater are so loud when that happens. People in the theater in general, and not like rude loud, but like laughing, like agreeing with things in the movie. We're like, yes, oh, that, yes. And we're like, ah, ha, ha. Like everybody.
Well, there was a couple of times in there where it was just you and I laughing at certain things.
Because we get it, right?
Yeah.
Because we get it. Some of these people don't get it because they're only understanding.
They have a surface level of it.
Yeah, their only understanding of it is like from the Marvel shows, from the other Deadpool movies, you know, from the XMen movies. So that's really their only understanding of some of it. Because it's interesting because they're in the TVA, which I didn't realize. And so I heard the guys behind us complaining because the only time they've seen the TVA is on Loki's show. And so they were complaining like about some of the things that they were missing from that show that they were like, oh, well, we thought such and such a thing should have been.
We got a question here from the CG anime fan. Does Wolverine wear a mask in the film?
Do we want to answer that question?
Do you really want us to answer that question?
If you don't want to know, like, mute us for a minute or something. But since you asked, we're going to tell you.
Yeah.
Yes. There is an. I mean, he's not in it for the majority of the film. He's not in it, and you just think we're not going to get it. And when he puts it on, you're like, I'm dead. I am gonna die right now, and it's gonna be the best moment.
Like the whole audience like gasps. Like, it's ridiculous. And I know, and I can't remember because I was so into it, but I know Ryan says something like he breaks the fourth wall. Deadpool tells us something when the mask goes on. I can't remember what, but it's epic. It's epic. So, I mean, if you're hoping for that, you have to go through a large majority of the movie to get there, but... Yeah, I don't think it's a huge... He apologizes. It's not a big, huge spoiler. It's just
kind of, it takes you...
Because you're going through, and it's so long, you expect, oh, okay, well, they didn't use it.
Yeah, you're like, I guess this is all they wanted to give us, which I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
And you're
I was like, they gave us the suit, so...
Yeah. But the suit's not quite complete without the mask, and the mask does come out. So
yeah, it does come out.
Insane. The other thing that you may have seen on the previews, which totally reminds me of every comic convention I've ever gone to in my entire life, is we get like 100 Deadpools. We get Lady Deadpool. We get Cowboy Deadpool. We get Kid Deadpool.
We get Dogpool.
We get like... We get everything. We get every Deadpool you could ever want in your entire life. Like every Deadpool you've ever seen at Comic-Con, they are all there.
Pretty much, yeah.
You get Deadpool Palooza. So that was kind of funny. But the funniest Deadpool of them all is actually Nice Pool. So we're not going to tell you too much about it because it kind of like shocks you when you see. I can't stop laughing because it was so funny.
It's definitely something you need to see.
You have to see it because it is hilarious. Look, I'm crying. It made me laugh. I was not expecting it. It is so hilarious. And then the poor little ugly dog, Mary Poppins. Well, you told me something about the ugly dog.
So, I've gone through some interviews, and apparently, when Deadpool is holding the dog, he's holding it with his mask off. And so, in order for the dog would not lick him. They would put stuff on his mouth and his face, in his mouth, wouldn't do anything until they put salmon paste in his mouth.
In his mouth.
Hey, he's like, that's horrible. But the dog sure did like that. And that dog is from like England or something. It's a famous dog.
No, yeah, it won like the ugliest
dog in the world
or whatever. And it's hideous, but it's also adorable. And and then when they dress it up in the little Deadpool thing, and it's got the little booties, and it's just running, like I mean, you've seen it a million times, but when you see it in the movie, you're like, this is epically perfect. Like, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's why we didn't show that the recent. He's talking about CG anime fans that I will suggest that people avoid the recent trailers for the film as they spoil some of this.
Yeah, see, I didn't watch.
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that one until after we saw it, and I can see why they spoiled a big.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to do it. So if you haven't seen the trailer, like I never saw it ahead of time. This one that we have on the queue up, which I will show you right now, is basically all I had seen.
Yeah.
And so it's good enough to get you hooked, but it doesn't
show you much.
So here we go.
Let's go. Critics are calling Deadpool and Wolverine a maniacal, meaningful masterpiece.
Guess we're getting that team up after all.
Oh, we're just getting started, Bob.
Yes! Let this man cook!
Rated R. In theaters and IMAX everywhere now.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So that's the trailer. I mean, it's enough to get you hype. I had seen stuff where obviously you know that Wolverine and Deadpool fight so that Deadpool can try to get Wolverine to help him on this quest.
So, and then you see a couple of villains from the original X-Men.
Right. I mean, if you don't know who Toad is, which you should, if you know anything about X-Men, you see Toad. If you don't know who he is, you won't know who he is in the film.
Yeah.
Sabretooth, I think most people know because Sabretooth has been in several of the films.
Who is it? Firestarter?
Oh, yeah. What is his name?
Is it Firestarter?
It's not Firestarter, but I don't remember his name.
What's his name?
I don't remember. You get to see a version of Nightcrawler, which is not a surprise because it's nobody famous or anything. But he's a red Nightcrawler.
No. That wasn't Nightcrawler. That was another.
It's a different one?
Yeah, it has similar powers though.
Oh.
He was part of Magneto's group.
Oh, he was in a. Oh, I don't remember seeing him before.
Mm-hmm. I think, but it was from the prequels.
Like later comics or earlier comics?
No, the prequels, the movies.
The movies?
He was in the movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess I don't remember him. I don't remember him from the comics that I read either, but there's hundreds.
Pyro. His name is Pyro, yes.
There you go.
That's it.
There's hundreds and hundreds of comics, so there's no way. I've not read all the hundreds and hundreds of comics, so I'm sure there's characters that I missed.
Yeah. CG anime fans says like, I feel like the advertising should have been more like Spider-Man No Way Home. I think they're trying to rejuvenate Marvel, so we've been seeing Deadpool everywhere. And all you've been hearing on TikTok is bye.
That's hilarious.
That makes a big part in the whole song.
Yeah.
It's a big part.
It's hilarious.
In the beginning of the film.
Super hilarious. And we see its connection to Logan, to the Logan movie. The thing that I wonder about it, because it's R-rated, and it's R-rated for a good reason. Like, my mom was asking me about, my mom's like gonna be 75, and she's like this very Christian lady, but she likes movies and stuff, but she has a hard time like when there's a lot of cussing in the movies. So she's like, Zachary, that's our middle son. Zachary told me there's like a lot of bad words in that movie, and I probably shouldn't watch it. And I'm like, Mother, there's so many bad words, but it's even more than the bad words. Like, it is crass. Like, there is some nasty stuff where there is like swords and claws and stuff in body parts that are pretty crass. I thought it was hilarious, but my mom, there's no way. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, I'm surprised. I think a lot of people are surprised. I think it probably took a lot of cajoling, and I don't know if this is true, but I would think for Disney, because Disney owns it now, for them to allow that movie out. And I wonder if they're trying to do a little bit of kind of updating their image, so it's not like, oh, Disney is goody all the time.
The funny thing is, they asked them, what didn't they allow you to put in? They'd allowed them to put in whatever they wanted in there. Everything they put in, they didn't take out.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it's because Disney's trying to change that image that they have. And not that they don't want to have the image of goody-goodies.
But Disney had other properties that was able to do that anyway.
Yeah, but a lot of people have felt like they've held those properties back, and they haven't let them be as open or as free or be the same storyline. So Disney gets a lot of crap, for a better word. They get a lot of crap for the way these movies are rolled out.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times people have to realize that these movies are rolled out this way because of the writers, because of the directors, because of the producers, because of the actors.
And because they want to push this to appeal to everyone. Right. They want everybody, because they want to either sell toys or whatever they want to do. Because I'm sure they're going to do that. There's no way they're not going to sell a new Wolverine.
But this is an adult movie, and they just let it be an adult movie.
Yeah.
Right? Deadpool is inherently an adult character. Like, Wolverine, we know he's angry. He goes about things the wrong way. He can kind of be murderous sometimes. Like,
he drinks too much.
He drinks a lot in this movie.
Yeah, CG Anime Fan says, I feel like the two main characters are enough to sell the film. There's no need to spoil the characters in the advertising.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But for the last one, I think it was kind of obvious that cameo was going to be there.
Oh, I haven't even seen it, so I don't know. Like, I still haven't seen the trailer. So it does show one of the cameos of who's going to be in there.
Yeah.
Well, and unfortunately, if you're watching, like TikTok that you were talking about, if you're watching some of these interviews, they're talking to some of these actors that have parts in here, and it's funny because they're kind of talking to them many years prior about these characters, and some of the things that they say about them that you're like, oh wow, they really like thought about that like 10 years ago or something. And so it's interesting that it got to come to fruition like in this film. So I really like some of that. And I will say I have loved these films and stuff, I guess, especially because I grew up with it, and X-Men was one of the comics that I read with my friend John when we were growing up. And I've personally loved the actors and stuff that they chose. And so during the credits, they show this like montage of of the movies and of the actors and of,
but like throughout, not just cinematic, throughout.
Yeah, and it's like
Marvel.
all of these like relationships that they've built and these friendships and like how much fun they had on these movies and stuff. And for me, I thought that was really endearing. It was just so sweet to see how much it seems through that cut that these actors really loved these characters that they played.
Yeah. And
these parts that they got to be a part of. And we know that Ryan Reynolds loves this because he's the one that pushed for it.
Yeah.
He pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. and he knew the vision, and he understood the comics behind it. And so it's nice sometimes to see people who...
Because I feel like who else could play Deadpool?
Right. At this point, who else could?
I mean, he's like the epitome of what he is.
Well, and who else could play... For me, who else could play Wolverine? I mean, once I've had Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I can't... Like, I've tried to think, because, of course, you want these franchises to keep going, so you want younger people to come in and take over and do things, but I have
and if
a
you
hard
think
time.
they're going to... because I know a lot of people are upset, or they're going to destroy what happened in Logan. They don't.
Mm-mm. They do some comedy stuff with it, which is frickin' hilarious.
Yeah.
Which I thought I was gonna like cry laughing. I think I did cry laughing at that because it was frickin' epically hilarious. Like, I can't even. I want to tell you so
A lot
bad.
of people want Daniel Radcliffe to play Wolverine. He could probably play a good Wolverine.
Maybe.
He needs to bulk up, but he could play it.
Because he's a little smaller than Hugh Jackman. And Wolverine is supposed to be small. He's like 5'4", 5'5". He's small, but in the comics, like, Wolverine is like...
super stocky.
Stocky. Yeah, he's real stocky. Like, even Hugh Jackman's not quite stocky enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe. Maybe I could do that. There's been a couple of other actors that I've heard thrown around, and for me, they're just, like, too tall. They just don't quite fit the build correctly, you know.
I don't know. I think
not a word.
Tom Cruise can do it.
Oh, yes, Tom Cruise. You've always thought that Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise has the height and almost the build. He's still a little slight, too. He doesn't have the shoulder width for it, but they can do stuff.
They can work that in.
With
and you can just
costuming and
eventually accept it like they did with Hugh Jackman being so tall.
Yeah. Well, they use camera angles and stuff, so he doesn't seem
But even
quite
then,
as tall,
in camera angles from the beginning, he was still tall.
He's too tall, yeah.
There was no... Yeah, he was... yeah.
One of the other things I really liked in this film, that we get a good look at some of the comic book stuff, but we get some really funny comedy stuff, speaking of the height of Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Because Deadpool is going through, because he's got the time thing from the TVA, and he's trying to find a Wolverine. Obviously, we know that, right? So he's trying to find a Wolverine. Well, the Wolverine that we get is not the first Wolverine that he finds. He goes through a lot of Wolverines to get to this Wolverine, because obviously he's going across the different timelines, across the multiverse, right? He's going. So I am going to spoil a little of the Wolverine stuff for you, because I thought it was really hilarious. So Wolverine is known, for those of us who read the comics, as being short and stocky, right? That's all you need. That's all you need right there. That's all you need.
That's spoilage enough.
Like, I can't stop it. You are not the Wolverine I'm looking for. Okay, we're not going to tell you. Never mind, I'm not going to spoil it, because that was too... I'm dying. Okay. It's super funny. Some of them, obviously, they kick Deadpool's ass, which is great. But some of it is hilarious. One of the really epic ones, which Vincent was like, I've seen this, I know this, right? One of the Wolverines. And you were looking for it.
Yeah. It's in XMen 251.
It's the cover.
Uncanny X-Men at 251.
Yeah, it's the cover. And it's very, like, if you've read the comics, or even if you've kind of browsed through, like, comics, or looked and graded comics, or been to a comic shop, it's a pretty iconic cover. Like, enough that when you see it in the movie, you're like, your brain is like, I know I've seen that on a comic, right? You may not know the storyline, but obviously it's an awful scenario, but of course Deadpool has to go in there and, like, make it funny, you know?
Yeah.
awkwardly funny.
CGI of it says, imagine Danny DeVito as Wolverine. That's not the cameo, but...
That's not the cameo, but it's funny. So, yeah. I can't. Okay, I have to stop.
But it was good. I
have to
mean,
stop
it
thinking
was
about it.
funny.
It was so funny. And you know, the thing about Deadpool is his mouth is always running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously Wolverine is really cranky and like hates people already, and now he has motor mouth, right? Well, and then of course Deadpool's motor mouth gets not only himself in trouble, but a lot of people around him in trouble as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one scene where he ends up getting someone in trouble. We'll not tell you who or whatever. He's running his mouth, and he says that character says it, and everybody's like, no, he didn't, like, it's you, right? So just wait all the way to the end, wait all the way through all of the credit. You have to wait all the way till the very, very end, but just wait.
The very end.
The very, very end, but just wait, because there's one final clip. This is all we can do the whole time we talk about this movie. You will laugh the whole freaking time. Like, everything is timed perfectly. Mm-hmm. Everything, like, connects together. Everything is hilarious. Like, you never stop being invested, right? A lot of the times I talk about, like, oh, this movie could have been good, or this movie was okay, but it was because the actors didn't like act well. Every single actor, and there's some big name actors in this besides Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, every single actor in this, not only do they pay homage to the characters, but they pay homage to the comedy of Deadpool as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's fantastic. Like, you laugh the whole time. Anytime you see anybody in there, because it's so funny, and all of their chemistry is so good. Like, they are all so good together. Mm-hmm. Like, they stay in their lanes with their characters, but they also combine together to be really funny together too. But also, like, he's trying to save his world, so there are some serious parts in it too where they're trying to work together, but you believe it.
Yeah.
Right? So that was one of the things that I really liked about this movie overall, is it's the chemistry.
You still give their chemistry and their base core of who they are. Mm-hmm. Even though it's not the Wolverine we know from the world we know, it's still a Wolverine that it's ultimately Wolverine. Right.
He may not be like one of the movie Wolverines, but he's a Wolverine that we know.
Yeah.
And he's a Wolverine who's been through a lot, and we know that about Wolverine. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I found interesting about this movie is, you know, we've seen that Wade Wilson is Deadpool before he's Deadpool, right? He's got the skill. He's got the skills. He's ex-military. He's a mercenary. He's also runs his mouth all the time. Like, we see that as Wade Wilson. He gets in trouble with the villains several times because of that. So it's interesting to see him play this kind of sad midlife crisis Wade Wilson that we get in this movie. Although it's hilarious. Sorry. It's hilarious when he staples the toupee to his head. And it's more hilarious when the toupee gets ripped off and there's staples and bits of hair on his head. I'm sorry. This movie is so funny. But it's interesting to see that he is kind of going through this midlife crisis, and he's trying to kind of find his place and who he is and how he belongs and how he can be Wade Wilson. And we see that a lot with heroes, although Deadpool is more of an anti-hero. But we see this kind of trope in heroes a lot, is this what is my place when I'm not in the suit, right? Who
Right.
am I as the person outside of the suit? So it's not something that you always think about with Deadpool, is who is he, who is Wade Wilson, right? And I think he doesn't know, which I think we also get a good look at. And what's really cute, which you've probably seen in the trailers, is if you watch the last movie, you see this team that Deadpool tries to put together, the X-Force or whatever. And so you see Peter, who has like no powers whatsoever. So he gets Wade a job at a car dealership. Let's just say that Deadpool should not be a car salesman. But again, they throw some funny stuff in there that Peter gets, which is fantastic. When you see some of this stuff, because he's just this goofy, like, you know, middle-aged, middle America kind of guy. And then he gets some really fantastic parts in the film, you know, and has some epic moments. So, there's somebody like mowing outside. I'm sure y'all heard it earlier because I could hear it through the thing. So he's freaking out about that. He's trying to tell y'all to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm sure like all the money that they put into it, people are already going to go see it, and they don't need to hear us say it either.
He wants you to see his friend Dogpool.
Dogpool. It's Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Not in the suit.
Not in the suit. But that was I really liked that the movie had moments where there's seriousness and there's this love.
It's not all silliness throughout the entire thing.
No, but
there's a lot of silliness.
There's a lot of silliness, but you see this love that Wade Wilson, and you see this love that the Wolverine that Logan has for who was his family, and how letting them down separately is more than either man can bear. Yeah. Because they do have those hero tendencies, and they do love who they love.
Now, I do wonder if they're ever going to release like a director's cut, because I feel there's a gap there of them explaining something on Wolverine's side that probably would have made the movie too long.
Yeah, and actually they break the fourth wall and say that.
Yeah.
They do say, like, oh, what are you trying to do? Make this a 3-hour movie or something to that effect, right? It's like, we know that there could have been more stuff that we could have given you about this part of the storyline. Yeah. But it would have taken us another half an hour or something. But I think those of us that want that comic book experience, we would have been okay with the extra 30 minutes. Oh, yeah. Like, I would have taken it just to get that piece of the story arc in there. But God, that probably would have cost so much money to have put all the extra actors and stuff in there that needed to be there. So that was probably part of it as well, because they probably already paid a pretty penny for everybody that was in there. I can't imagine having to bring back, because I'm sure they had to pay a pretty penny for all the music that they used. Yeah. Man, I was thinking about that too, now that you brought that up. So back in the day, because we're old like that, so we say back in the day, you used to buy like a CD or a tape or whatever of soundtracks of movies, just so you could have like all of the songs together. And I was thinking during the movie, because I loved so much of the music, and I was thinking, I was like, do they even still do like soundtracks of movies? Like, is that a CD? And then if it is, like, where would I even play such a CD? Like, I don't even know. But that was one of the things that popped into my mind. What would I play a CD on now? I know. I was like, where would I play that? I don't even know how I would go about doing that. On your Xbox or your or your PlayStation. So what is the likelihood that you'll go back and watch this again? I want to see it like right after this. I've already asked him if we can go again tomorrow. So I want to see it tonight. I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be any seats left, but I bet Sunday morning at about 11, there's probably some seats. So, so it's great fun. I would definitely watch it again, over and over again. I'm definitely going to make sure I purchase this. And it's funny because we had just talked about like, oh, we're not going to purchase any more movies. We're just going to watch it on streaming. And then we watch this and we're like, oh, we're buying it.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna happen. So
Because whatever happens if the streaming goes down or they're not showing that specific one at that time.
hey, we actually had to watch a movie the other day because the internet and everything was down.
Yeah.
We watched a physical movie.
Yeah, when the internet went out
Yeah.
in Texas.
We had power, but there was no internet, and so we were like, you know what? We've got DVDs and Blu-rays. Let's go. So yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. We're gonna go to either tonight or tomorrow to see it again, and have them take our money again and see anything that we might have missed. Which it'd be hard to miss anything, but it'd be fun to watch it again. But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
And I'm Colleen.
Geek Out Essay.